saying New Mexico needs to refine its pandemic relief plan and pointing a finger at the lack of federal action. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham wants to call a special session to better craft an emergency loan plan. Potentially, she'd also like to look at repurposing CARES Act funding, too. This came as a bit of a surprise to lawmakers. And Dan, is this a think fast, react fast situation? And most of the ladies and gentlemen in the House and Senate can respond in kind without too much trouble. Or does this feel a little slapdash in your view?
Yeah, I mean, trying to call an emergency session right before the regular session, normally when that happens, it doesn't bode well for the executive when they make you come in.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that everybody rallies around is, so instead of being here for 2 months, I'm not going to be here for 3 months. And the legislature normally is kind of a place that pumps the brakes. Everybody kind of gets all excited, and then the bill gets introduced and you start having the hearings and all of that stuff. So, I mean, I think it's going to be hard pressed to get legislators to react to this stuff quickly, especially when, you got businesses calling them, complaining about things that are happening. You got federal monies trying to come in. You got state monies. You got the legislature trying to figure out if it's going to be able to balance the budget, what oil and gas is doing. Mm-hmm. There just seems to be a lot on their plates to try to figure this out in just a few days before they meet. I'm not sure it's going to work out.
Giovanna, beyond politics, what do you think would be the most effective form of state help at this point? More accessible severance, tax loan system, maybe unemployment benefits, a straight payment, or a tax credit? What's the best way we could go here if we're going to have a special? What should they be talking about if we're going to convene?
Well, the legislature needs to consider, how to proceed with helping some of these people that have lost income through either being laid off or just, their businesses are going, are tanking. So there's a big budget question. And I do think that it's appropriate to call a special session to deal with this. And then, of course, to have the regular session. I don't know what the answers are in terms of how the funding mechanisms should work. Mm-hmm. I think that's the work of the legislature, and hopefully they have been thinking about this and making some plans. I do want to say, the governor's absolutely right. We haven't had the federal support that we've needed, and that is really, really hard. I think that there are dollars available, as was, we were discussing this before we came on live. But the thing is that for small businesses to access those dollars, it's really, really hard. And so there needs to be some structure, some system put in place to assist those small businesses to access the dollars, because right now only the big businesses are getting to do that.
Mm-hmm. Tom, the governor hasn't really put it out there saying this is what she would like to see happen. Maybe that's a good way to goose this thing along. But same question. If she is to say something, what's the best bet for New Mexicans? A straight payment, tax deferment? What's your back of the envelope gut thought on that?
Yeah, so playing off of Dan and Giovanna, what I will say is that I think the governor will be successful with whatever her plan is if she does indeed call a special session, is just to keep it simple. Mm-hmm. Because anything that's complex is just dead in the water. So with the a 24-hour session, let's say it happens, and it should happen in Albuquerque, by the way, as opposed to Santa Fe. It's a whole other issue. We can tackle that.
Go ahead and pick up on that after you finish your first point. It's a legit point.
Yeah, it really should be something that's very simple, something that helps those who are unemployed, helps small business, and it shouldn't entail a whole lot of paperwork in connection with it. Mm-hmm. And as a quick follow-up, there's a lot of talk about the session being moved over into the Santa Fe Convention Center. Mm-hmm. Why not move it down to the Albuquerque Convention Center, where you have all the media have greater access, you have greater access by the public, and you have a center that can really accommodate more people than you can up in Santa Fe. Mm-hmm. And then when everything returns to normal, whatever that looks like, everything can head back to Santa Fe.
That's a point. Laura, would you agree with that? I mean, I've seen people on Facebook starting to say that too. It makes sense. It's not as much travel for the folks down south to have to go to, save an hour, but it's a big hour.
So I think that in terms of moving people, it's not that big of a deal. But when you talk about moving equipment, it's going to be a big deal.
Okay.
Moving down the street to the Santa Fe Convention Center, when it comes to all of the infrastructure, because you're still going to need to have a fair amount of equipment involved, people mic'd up, printers going, computers going, IT, ensuring security, web access, all that kind of stuff. I think it depends if they plan to sort of social distance and have, their desks or whatever. Moving things down the street is probably more efficient and less costly than it would be to move things to Albuquerque.
But Laura, do I understand it correctly? They just want to use the convention center for hearings and not necessarily for other.
But even if they did that, though, I still think that there's a fair amount of equipment that has to be moved. There's a fair amount of infrastructure that has to be set up. It's a logistical nightmare, I think, for the legislature. We're not a mobile kind of setup at this point.
And they're already set up in the Capitol building to do a lot of things online. All of the committee rooms have access. I don't know where we are with the discussion about just doing it online, just doing it online. I know there's an issue.
That'd be a bad move, just to have it online. Just because when you talk about open government, there's no better way to hide government than to, go into a Zoom, because you never know what other types there's just a lot less accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course.
There's a lot of agencies right now that are still conducting things online. The PRC meets every week and they do it online.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also not in a situation where we can do things in an ideal way, right? Like, we're in an emergency situation here, and we need to be, making plans that reflect that. And I think I've been involved in some of the interim committee hearings, as you all have probably, and I've been impressed with it. The legislators are getting the hang of it. The staff is really doing a good job, and the public comment section of the meetings seems to be working.
Let me pick up on that with Dan. You just mentioned public comments. Public access, Dan, is going to be an issue. Republicans made this an issue when we first started kind of going through this idea that, public access is not a good thing for our democracy, having it limited. Can we pull this off and still have the public getting the same amount of access they've always had?
I don't know how much access the public's had in the first place anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
The committee rooms are small. They get, when the hot button topics come up, they limit people from coming in, and they, people get there first to take up the chairs. And, at the end of the day, I just say, there's no doubt we're in a different time right now. But every time we have issues like this, we're willing to give up freedoms and give up opportunities and give up our ability of oversight because we think it helps the situation. The reality is we give it up, and when the situation corrects itself, we never get it back. And that's a potential problem, right? If all of a sudden the best way to do this is through Zoom meetings, we had to do it through the pandemic. Oh, now we're through the pandemic, but I don't want to ride up from Roswell anymore. So I can just vote, sitting at my house in Roswell and not have to do anything. It becomes a slippery slope. And especially in a state where we have such limited access to the internet already. Right. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of folks in a lot of areas that if they don't have the opportunity to come walk the halls and, go to a committee meeting, they're not going to know what's going on or be heard.
And that goes to the point of really needing to increase broadband access statewide. Mm-hmm. So I think that should be a real priority here, because when I was in attending some of the interim committee hearings this fall, we were hearing from people from all over the state that I have never seen in the Roundhouse. And they were there giving their 2 minutes public comment. Each legislator, had to listen, look at them, and I thought that was really great. So I think there are some actual advantages to having.
I would tell you that, having just when you say that each legislator sits there, has to look at them, I can tell you what, you don't have to sit there and look at them when they're on a Zoom. But I can tell you, I watched personally and was personally involved in when people would come to testify and you wouldn't give them the 2 cents, you wouldn't give them their 2 minutes, and then you'd walk out in the hallway and they made sure they found you to let you know what they thought. I guess you could try to Zoom back in and tell people what you think, but that personal contact is really hard to. There was a lot of accountability. I could go on for hours about the accountability I saw in the hallways when times came when constituents would walk up and say, "All right, Laura, I supported you and this is what I want," and you'd see Laura go, all right, maybe I need to rethink my position. And I just think you lose that when you go to the Zoom stuff and you lose that personal interaction, which is what our citizen legislature is based on. I mean, if we're going to go to this type of deal, then we ought to talk about not having a citizen legislature. What makes our state so unique is that the concept of you're supposed to be able, as a legislator, you're supposed to be living in your district, interacting with people. People can come up, anybody can talk to the legislature. We met at certain times. The reason we meet at these times is because of the farming and ranching community. It was so heavy when we started as a state. This is when their time is dormant. They could all come up. It's just interesting. I mean, as we move technology, we're moving away from personal contact. And
let's also acknowledge that the people that really have the most access are the paid lobbyists. I mean, I get it, and I hear you about you can walk up to your legislator during the session, and that's absolutely crucial. But also, the reality of it is that 90% of the access really is the lobbyists that are paid to be there.
I'm not sure if I can necessarily agree with you. I know you're just throwing a number out there, 90%, but Dan makes a good point. That contact, that hallway stuff, that means something. It has value, for legislators as well. Let me get Tom in on this. You've spent a little bit of your time up there as well. Got about just under a minute. Tom Garrity, what do you think about the public access and the possibility of having it diminished to a critical point?
To Dan's point, a lot of the, kind of legislation, for lack of a better term, takes place outside of the committee room. And it is in that face-to-face contact. And it's not that nobody's being nefarious or anything like that. It's just when you can actually grab somebody and say, hey, you know what, let's talk about this specific piece of legislation. Yep. So, I think the more we can just shed a light and, really creating more of an atmosphere where everybody can safely get in the same room together and discuss ideas and politics, I think that's a good thing.
Good stuff, guys. Thanks to you all for studying up once again this week. We really appreciate it. And please stay safe over the holiday.